And when I say that, I say the interests of the most powerful sectors within the economy. And that both political parties right now are primarily concerned with saving that economy and perpetuating its interests. Which is why we can see the dramatic contrast between how much we spend for the military and versus social sector spending. Which is why we can see the de-emphasis of immigrant rights in this country from the political class. Why we can see it shelved and pushed off. And why we can see that there's no discussion of the policies that are driving immigration in the first place. By conceding on immigration, the Obama administration basically passed an initiative off to where it's been developing for some time now, the state and the local level, which is what then opened the door for more right-wing elements, more anti-immigrant elements, and I would argue more overtly racist elements to take over and push the issue in their own interests. So, I don't want to leave on a totally bad note, but I want to point out what I think is the contradiction at the center of our organizing. The reality of the situation is that it's not going to change. Because we have this tremendous contradiction, one of increased emphasis on free trade and which leads to economic displacement. At the same time that we have this increased emphasis on militarizing the border and criminalizing a larger and larger percentage of the workforce within this country. Those two things are in motion, and they work in contradiction to each other. This is going to happen for the foreseeable future because there's no other way out of this crisis from the point of view of the policymakers. We've seen since 2001, for instance, the border wall has increased from about 100 miles to about 600 miles. We've seen, just since 2006 and 2010, a 57% increase in spending on border enforcement personnel and technology. We've seen, as part of the defense budget, an increasing percentage of that allocated towards national security projects, aka projects that are designed to fuse technology into border enforcement. We've seen increased interventions militarily overseas. And we've seen increased criminalization of immigrants, not just Latinos, but Arab and Muslims and others in this country. So these contradictions are in motion, and there is no solution coming from the current policymakers. But I do see a solution coming from elsewhere, which is the ability of communities to organize. This situation that we find ourselves in is one where the likelihood of violence on the border will increase unless we stop it. This necessitates growth, collaboration, and the development of human rights and immigrant rights organizations. Horizontal growth, which reflects our numerical strength. The majority of people in our community are, not only are they affected by these policies, but they can create their own solutions if we organize. If we build solidarity between different organizations, solidarity between our organizations, labor unions, churches, and other groups who all act and organize with the rights of immigrants at heart, but we tend to all act separately. The development of a common, focused movement can not only demonstrate an alternative power, one that links us to the workplaces, to our communities, to our schools, but one that ultimately, over time, can become much more powerful than the forces that attempt to criminalize us. So the onus is upon us to figure out how to create these kind of organizations. And the onus is on us to figure out how to use our power to change the current equations when it comes to immigration in this country. The onus is on us. The power is in our hands. The question is, how do we move forward? Thank you.